This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
Hey Animaniacast fans, this is a heads up for all of our listeners in Utah. There is a big event coming up on December 14th. It's the third annual Officer Doug Barney Memorial Toy Drive. Bring the donation of a new unwrapped toy and meet the stars of Animaniacs. That's right, Rob Paulson, Maurice LaMarche, and Utah's favorite adopted son, Jess Harnell, will be at the Microsoft store at City Creek Mall in downtown Salt Lake City, signing autographs for a good cause. That's Yakko, Pinky and the Brain, and Wacko, live signing autographs and taking pictures for everyone who donates a toy for a child in need. That's the third annual Officer Doug Barney Memorial Toy Drive happening on December 14th between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. at the Microsoft store at City Creek Mall in downtown Salt Lake City. Are you looking to buy something awesome for your friends, family, and probably even yourself this holiday season? Then have I got an idea for you. Head on over to tpublic.animaniacast.com today for the last sale of 2019. That's right. All designs are up to 30% off, and classic t-shirts are just $14. And if you go to tpublic.animaniacast.com, you'll be helping out not only independent artists, but also helping support this podcast as well. There's some great designs on there, including one Immature Radioactive Samurai Slug design that is really awesome, and even a great Tiny Toon Adventures themed Animaniacast logo. That's right, the logo that you see featured on today's show art is available as a t-shirt, and it's awesome. I have it myself, and thank you to artist Noisy Paper Dragon on Twitter for designing that for us. It looks amazing. So head on over to tpublic.animaniacast.com today for some last minute deals for everybody on your list.
And welcome everybody to another Tiny Toons episode of the Animaniacast.
Shut up! You're just in time to watch my favorite show!
And now, back to Immature Radioactive Samurai Slugs!
We're immature radioactive samurai slugs. We love to thrash criminals and slice and dice thugs.
We're totally radical, gnarly dudes. Cowabunga homeboys with nothing to lose.
Our arch enemies want us iodized, but they can't beat us cause we're merchandise.
Destroy them!
Count off, Picasso,
Warhol!
Rockwell,
Moses! So kick back, tweets, it's the end of the rhyme. The show's gonna start and it's time to slime.
Yeah, all right! Hey, cowabunga!
And welcome everybody to another episode of Talkin' Tiny Toons. This is the spin-off series of the Animaniacast, and today we are talking about another episode of Tiny Toon Adventures, revisiting our favorite jokes and all the cultural references that we can handle. And in the end, we're going to give this episode a Water Tower rating. I am Joey, and joining me are my co-hosts. Sitting right next to me, for the first time in a long time, it's my brother Nathan.
Chill out. Get a life. For it.
Get liberal. Okay. And across the country in Georgia, it's Kelly.
Hello.
Hello. Well, this is we in our rotation right now. We sometimes are talking about, of course, Animaniacs, or Freakazoid, or Pinky and the Brain. But it was Kelly's turn today. And so Kelly decided to talk about Immature Radioactive Samurai Slugs.
Yep.
And we didn't really know which one that was at the time.
Because I guess there's at least two episodes that
Well, this is the main one.
Yeah.
This is episode 48, Mr. Popular's Rules of Cool. So, Immature Radioactive Samurai Slugs are in this. There are 3 major segments. There's Mr. Popular's Rules of Cool. There's Slug Fest. And then Venison. Anyone? So, yeah. So if someone were to ask you about this episode in just a few words, what would you tell them, Nathan?
I saw one of the Ninja Turtles in this episode.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. Sort of. Okay, and Kelly, what about you?
I love the Immature Radioactive Samurai Slug music theme song.
You know, I was shocked that I haven't seen this episode in I don't know how many years, but I remember the theme song.
Yeah.
It's just almost as catchy as the actual Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme. It's funny. It's a funny song.
I couldn't remember the lyrics, but I knew the tune.
I just remember the Cowabunga homeboys with nothing to lose. I just think that's such a funny line. Anyway, well, Nathan, tell us pray tell, when did this episode first premiere?
Okay, well, Joey, this episode premiered on Monday, December 10th of 1990. This was just after Tim Burton's Edward Scissorhands was released in theaters.
I saw that. I think I saw that in the theater with our grandmother.
All right.
Yeah.
And Ted Turner and Jane Fonda had just announced their engagement, so that's pretty cool.
They were a staple of the 90s.
And that's pretty much it. I don't know.
Yeah, Ted Turner and Jane Fonda were kind of like the power couple of the 90s, I think. Really a power couple because they had millions and millions of dollars together. Did he ever see Jane Fonda? Ted Turner, you must have seen him around the Atlanta area at some point, right, Kelly?
I'm trying to remember. Not that I can recall. I mean, I know he was about, around and about, and everything. But at that age, I wasn't in Atlanta very often.
Okay.
So because my mother was terrified to drive in Atlanta, and I was too young to drive. I was so excited to get to college. I'm like, ooh, I can go and visit places in Atlanta now. Because growing up, it was always like, oh, Atlanta's like this big, scary place, and it's so far. I'm like, we live 15 minutes away. Really not that big of a deal, but whatever. But but I did visit the Ted Turner store, and one of the nicer malls had a Ted Turner store, and so he owned the rights to Wizard of Oz and Gone with the Wind at that time, so it had a lot of movie memorabilia and that sort of.
I was like, what do they have at the Ted Turner store? Just like big teeth or something? Or mustaches?
It's called
Makes sense.
The Turner store. But yeah, it was stuff based on Turner classic movies.
Okay.
More so than anything else, I think.
All right. Okay. Cool. All right. So, and of course, we know Jane Fonda as the woman who nowadays gets arrested for protesting for good causes, environmental causes every week. It seems like I get a push alert. Jane Fonda arrested again.
She accepted that one award, as she's being arrested, I think.
Really? Right? Oh, maybe. I don't know. That'd be great.
Some British award. I don't know. Just sorry, I couldn't be there, but I'm in jail for.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah. Oh, Jane Fonda.
Oh, Jane. Well, let's go ahead and get into our discussion of today's episode. And we're going to start off with Mr. Popular's Rules of Cool. And Mr. Popular's Rules of Cool was directed by Art Vitello. In fact, I think all these little segments were directed by Art. And it was written by the late, great Gordon Bresek. And Nathan, why don't you tell us what happens here in Mr. Popular's Rules of Cool?
All right. Well, this is our second episode of Mr. Popular, at least.
That's true. There's one that just happened like 3 episodes
ago.
Did you have time to watch that one?
No.
Me either. I didn't watch it either.
So I don't remember. But we were introduced to Mr. Popular, and you're like, who's Mr. Popular? Yeah. It's Buster Bunny.
It's Buster. It's like his alternate, it's a alter ego.
Yeah. So, he teaches you how to be popular. And in this episode, people, he's got a studio audience, and they're asking him what it takes to be popular. And he's like, well, let me show you what not popular, and he shows it's a picture of Hamton. He's like reading poetry, and he's dressed like
He has a cool tie on.
Yeah, it says he's dressed to his own taste, which I'm like, that's kind of cool, I think. And they're like, is that cool? And like, so they start doing some examples.
This guy has trouble keeping up with the latest trends.
Hey, gang, let's do the hustle. I'm the pink with the four-way hips. How about shake your booty? Shake, 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 shake. Shake, 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 shake.
You know, he's going to help him. He's kind of like Hitch, I decided, from... Have you seen that movie with Will Smith?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, he is Hitch, and he's going to help Hamton be cool by teaching him how to get into, like, the cool club. I think that's actually the name of it.
Yeah.
You must prove your coolness to get into the cool club.
So you know it's cool. And Arnold is the bouncer. And,
Voiced by Rob Paulson.
Yeah. And the dodo bird tries to get in first. I don't know what that dodo bird's name is.
Dodo, I think. Go-Go. No. Go-Go's the dodo bird. This is the buzzard. This is not a dodo.
Okay, that's what it is.
Yeah.
The buzzard.
I forget the
like
buzzard's name.
Boring. Anyways, he is not cool and is thrown out. And then Buster kind of tells him to like sneak in. Just be confident.
Just so it's all about attitude, I think. Is
all
what,
attitude.
That's what Babs tells him. Just attitude.
Unfortunately, as he's walking into the final door, Arnold slams it in his face, and then Hampton's like almost falling over. But people think he's doing a cool dance, and like Shirley and Go-Go and Dizzy and Calamity all do like a conga line and dance with him.
It is the coolest! Come on, everybody, do the pig!
I gotta pause the thing, by the way, after this cool conga line that they all get into. Mm-hmm. His name's Concord Condor.
There we go.
He's not a buzzard. He's a condor.
So is Concord Condor doing the conga?
Yes. Oh,
well, I don't think he joins the conga.
Oh, he's already thrown out. He's thrown across.
Go-Go is.
Let's see here.
Yeah.
Yep. He's not doing the conga.
He's not cool enough.
Darn it. Okay.
So, like, hey, Hampton's kind of cooler now, I guess. But then they start going through his music, and they decide that his music all is terrible. And he's like, hey, I like this music. And he starts trying to put it on the record, and it's like, he starts doing some weird scratching of the records, and everyone in the audience is like, this is awesome.
Barry Manilow, Slim Whitman, Wayne Newton, Sam Fear.
My records, how did you get them? Give me back my records.
Oh, you won't be needing these now that you're a cool dude.
But I don't want to be a cool dude.
Okay. Zucky's one cool pig.
I'd pay him to teach me.
Like, get down with your bad piggy self or something.
So they decide that he's really cool, and then Babs and Buster are like, wait, maybe we're not cool. And they're like, we know someone who is. So then they go to the cool club and Hampton's the DJ. His name's DJ Hamton. What's his name?
GJ Pig or something like that.
Sir Pigs a lot. I don't know.
He does look. I mean, he looks like something in Run DMC or something like that going on. He looks pretty cool.
It's a pun on one of the names.
That's why they call him Cool MC Pig.
I think that you shall never see a pig that raps as cool as me. I'm nerdy, I'm wordy, I'm never down and dirty. I'm cool.
And so it's ironic because he was the one that was supposed to not be cool, but now at the end he is cool.
He is cool because
it's all perspective.
Exactly. What were your any moments in that first cartoon that stood out for you, Kelly, that you liked?
I thought it was funny when Hampton basically accidentally That's a lot of adverbs. Hit his head and got dizzy and started dancing, and then people thought that was like on purpose, and that they thought that was really cool.
I particularly like the part right there where Buster Bunny's talking about the things that you should get Mr. Popular's Guide to Being Cool.
Yeah, I really like the book.
And he goes over the different steps and everything.
What this subject needs is Mr. Popular's Guide to Being Cool. Also available in paperback. And if you send for our course, you'll receive this 3-page book. These 42 long playing cassettes. Just count them. This coloring book. A bottle of Hell's Stinky. Guaranteed to help you lose weight and grow hair. Move along, kid. Quit hogging the camera. And buy real estate, whether you want to or not, because you need it.
But the writing underneath it is pretty funny. It says, operators are standing by. What are you waiting for? Show a little backbone. Act now. Right now. Sorry, too late. And then it goes, haha, just kidding. So it's kind of hard to read it as it's going because Buster's talking so fast.
Yeah, I had to play it twice because I was like, one time I was just listening to him talk, and then the next time I was like, I'm going to just read all these things because it's...
Yeah, it was really funny. So you could see, like we were talking about, just Gordon Bressick's writing. It does have a little bit of, I think this first part does have a little bit of an edge to it where Buster and Babs are a little meaner, I think, than usually we're used to them being.
Like, yeah, Hampton comes up and says, like, how do I be cool? And like, just get away from me.
Get away from me, you social outcast, or whatever they say to him. And the rules, I think, are pretty cool. The step, he goes, step 1, step 2. Step 2 is pulling off the tag on the back of his shirt. Mm-hmm. Do you remember those, Nathan? I know those little things. I don't think they really put them on shirts anymore that much, but those little weird loops, I don't even know what they're for. But I do remember.
Weren't they on Bugle Boys?
Oh, they were. I think, yeah, those denim shirts and everything. But they were on like a lot of shirts. For hanging it on a hook if you're taking off your shirt to hang it on something.
Just follow my 3-step system. Step 1, throw away that moldy old poetry book. Step 2, rip that little loop off the back of your shirt. And step 3, watch out for step 3.
I used to have those things on the back of my shirt, though, in elementary school. Kids would pull them.
I think my brother had a shirt with one of those things, and people made fun of him.
Yep.
Yeah, it became a thing.
Yeah, people had to rip them off or cut them off. I think I had one, and I actually had to cut one off. So, yeah, there we go. So we learned Hampton was cool after all. But let's go to the main event, I think, of today's episode. And Kelly, let's get into Slug Fest. And Slug Fest was directed once again by Art Vitello, and it was written by Jim Reardon. And I hadn't seen the name Jim Reardon around, so I had to look that up a little bit. I guess he worked on the Mighty Mouse cartoon series, when that came around in the late 80s. And he had a very interesting college film, I believe. I think it's called something like Bring Me the Head of Charlie Brown. You can find it on YouTube. It's pretty violent, but I saw it and I was like, wow, that was something else. So if you really want to see something sick and twisted, you can look that up. I believe it's...
Oh, I love Sick and Twisted.
Well, this is directed by Jim Reardon. It's imagine Taxi Driver and Peanuts put together, and you get that. I think it's called Bring Me the Head of Charlie Brown or something to that regard. It's weird. Kelly, why don't you tell us what happens here in Slugfest?
Okay. Well, Buster is back on his cool show, and he wants to know if anyone has any more questions about being cool. And a turtle with an orange bandana around his eyes asks the question, and I guess he's supposed to be Michelangelo
with the wrong weapon.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's why I said I saw a Ninja Turtle. I don't know which one it is. But.
Oh, yes.
Well, the orange bandana means it's...
Michelangelo.
But the weapon means
it's a sai. He was holding a sai.
It's Raphael, right?
But that'd be Raphael.
But maybe Michelangelo lost his nunchucks.
Or maybe Raphael lost his bandana.
I don't know. Oh, that's a good point. Maybe there was a problem in the laundry.
Just all...
Hey, Mr. Popular, What if you've got a really favorite TV show and you watch it every day and you dress like the character on the show and you spend every dollar you have on toys and dolls and t-shirts from the show? Would that be cool?
Are you brain dead? A cool person would find better things to spend their money on than a bunch of cheesy toys.
Then I guess I'll have to return all this Mr. Popular merchandise.
Buster goes, well, there goes my Christmas bonus. So, they make you think that he collects stuff from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something. And it just reminded me of my old Sequest days because I had the Sequest hat and the Sequest shirt, and I'd watched the Sequest show and sing the Sequest theme, which really can't be sung because it's non-lyrical, but it hadn't have the lyrics. But I would hum it.
It just reminds me of everything Star Wars that I buy. So, yeah.
And apparently we're not cool, according to Buster.
No.
Oh, yeah. So, speaking of which, my sister literally just sent me a text that said, Baby Yoda! Anyway, she was asking me earlier about what The Mandalorian was about. Okay. So, the Hampton goes to Plucky's house, and Plucky's about to watch his favorite show, which is Immature Radioactive Samurai Slugs. And speaking of the hat and t-shirt and everything, he's got all of it. He's the leader of the fan club. He gets all the merchandise and everything else. And he's singing and dancing to the show's opening credits. And he wants to be a samurai slug. And then a commercial comes on, and they have Samurai Slug costumes.
Look at the neat stuff I bought from him. A Samurai Slug t-shirt, baseball cap, and a two-way wrist slug. Gee, what does it do? Nothing, but it only costs $19.95. Oh, boy, if I could only be a Samurai Slug.
Now you can own your very own Samurai Slug costume made out of rugged paper mache. Be the first rad kid on your block to dress like a slimy, worm-like mollusk. Just send $29.95 to Drooling Fanboy Productions today.
Did you hear that? It's just what we need to be real Samurai Slugs. Quick, do you have any money? No, I'm broke. Say, why don't we become samurais the way the slugs did on TV? Why, sure. Why didn't I think of that before?
And so Plucky decides that he and Hampton need their own costumes. So they decide to make them out of potato sacks.
Yes.
And I think they do a passable job. Better than what I could do making something out of a potato sack.
By the way, I think this would be perfect cosplay for anybody who really wants to do something at a Comic-Con. I mean, this Plucky and Hampton cosplay...
That'd be amazing.
Be Plucky and Hamton as Immature Radioactive Samurai Slugs. It would be hard, but man, oh man, would it be impressive if I saw somebody walking around as a duck with eyeballs protruding.
Yeah, the big eyes, I think would be difficult.
Let's do it, Nathan.
Let's do it. Get little balloons, I think would be.
Yep. Okay, we're writing this down. Okay.
So they did take the headband, eye-band, bandana, whatever you call it, and they tie it around their eyes, and their eyes do pop out, and so they really start looking like slugs. And then they hear someone yelling for help, and it's actually Elmira in her kitchen, and they go to assist her in their slugmobile, and it turns out she's actually trying to hit slugs, and that's not really good for them.
Chill out, babe. The slugs are here. Yeah, get liberal. Or is that radical?
Get out of here, you sluggy wuggies! I hate slimy things! Giant sluggy wuggies!
Chill out. Get a life. Go for it.
So she hits them with her broom and chases after them, and they run away. But then all of a sudden, they are in the Immature Radioactive Samurai Slugs stunt show, which brought to mind the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular.
Yes, which I've never seen in person, by the way. Well, I've never been to Disney World. I'm just glad that's still around, despite everything. That show is still around. I even went
to one the night during one of the celebrations when they closed down Indoor, which was my first sighting of, or they called it last night on Indoor.
Uh-huh.
Last ride, what do they call it? think last night on Indoor. Anyway, they this is when they shut down Star Tours to revamp it.
Uh-huh.
And George Lucas was there, and that was my first sighting of George Lucas. But anyway, the Epic Stunt Spectacular was a special show for that night only. They did a couple of shows of it where it was Star Wars mashed up with Indiana Jones.
Oh, wow.
I think Warwick Davis was there in the audience, and oh gosh, someone else. Several of the Star Wars cast members were actually in the audience watching the show and everything, and it's amazing. So it might be on YouTube somewhere. I'm not sure.
I'm sure it has to be somewhere.
But yeah, you should definitely check it out if you come over to the East Coast.
I will.
So then they start dodging ninja stars that are being thrown at them, and they have basically like cardboard swords, and they're closing their eyes and holding the swords out, and the ninjas almost seem to like jump off of them. They don't attack them or anything, so I don't know. It's all just like a stunt show. So it's supposed to look real, I guess, but it doesn't. So the Iodizer, who's the bad guy, he's getting his costume ready, but then the real Iodizer comes and replaces him.
It's the Iodizer!
The Samurai Slugs, my arch enemies!
No! You got it all wrong, pal. We're not real samurai slugs. We're just pretending. Yeah, I'm really a pig.
Very funny. And I'm not really the Iodizer. My friends call me Salty Pete.
They leave the stunt show and they're trying to take the costumes off, but there's no zippers because Plucky forgot all about that. And then they're chasing each other all around the map of the United States and then end up in Utah and the Great Salt Flats of Utah. And the League of Icky Crawly Things tries to save them.
Oh no, it's the League of Icky Crawly Things!
Look, it's Sergeant Roach and his Cockroach Commandos.
Sound off, you maggots!
Captain Hookworm and Long John Silverfish, Superfly, Dung Beetle Bailey, Archie Leach.
Judy.
And look, the lowest life form of all, a TV executive.
I just don't know till I see the ratings.
And then he just Iodizer stomps them underfoot. But then they go into an Elks Lodge, and the Elks need some salt lick. And I swear, every time I watch this episode, I always forget what salt lick is. But handily enough, they flash the definition in front of you, for people like me who didn't grow up around, I don't know.
Farms or
Yeah,
elk,
we had rabbits growing up, so they had to have salt licks.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew all about salt lick.
Oh, darn it, we're out of salt lick.
For those of you raised in the city, a salt lick is a large block of salt that animals lick to replenish body minerals and avoid dehydration.
Ahem. Like I said, we're out of salt lick.
No, you aren't. There's the one right over there.
Hey, get away! Stop that! Leave me alone, pal! Get away from me! Stop!
So long, Smitty! See you in Salt Lick City!
They say that the moral of the story is just say no to slugs.
Yes, say no to slugs.
Because, back in the 80s, there was a slogan that says, say no to drugs.
Yes, and it all worked. And the war on drugs was won.
We have no problem with drugs. It seems worse now than it was when I was a kid.
It really does, doesn't it? Oh, well.
I mean, now there's an opioid epidemic.
Exactly.
We didn't have none of that when I was a kid.
Yes.
We just had those PCP laden stickers that you licked.
Oh yeah, PCP LSD or whatever. I don't know what it was.
I don't know. I just remember one time a classmate gave me some of those stickers to lick, and I brought them home. And they didn't have drugs on them.
Okay.
But my mother was concerned. And the next day, she had to come to my classroom and give a speech and warn all the kids in my classroom about how how you have to be so careful and you only use stickers and none of the ones that you lick. And I don't know how prevalent it was. Maybe it was kind of like the razor blades and Halloween candy.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I always thought.
A scare than, because how often does it actually happen?
Yeah.
But I was so embarrassed.
Oh my goodness.
But I never licked a sticker, golly.
Well, there we go. So there's our Immature Radioactive Samurai Slugs cartoon. There's a few references in it. There's a Dung Beetle Bailey instead of Beetle Bailey. It's Dung Beetle Bailey in the Icky Crawly Things league. And one that was really obscure for me was the what's this? Well, there's Superfly, which there's Superfly.
Someone saying you're popular,
Superfly, and I think there's actually a
disco song
character. So, and then there was Archie Leach saying Judy, 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 and I was like, wait, that's Cary Grant. Why is he saying? Why is he calling him Archie Leach? Well, Archie or Cary Grant's real name was like Archibald Leach or Archie Leach or something like that. So there you go. That was a weird reference that the kids would not get today.
No, even at the time.
Yeah, but one of the coolest things was talking about the painters. I think when instead of Raphael, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Leonardo, famous Renaissance painters, they all did a roll call, and they were Picasso, Warhol, Rockwell, like Norman Rockwell, and Grandma Moses, who I had to look up because I wasn't that familiar with Grandma Moses. She was an artist she actually became an artist, like I think in her 70s. And
yeah, she was older.
She was older. She died in the 60s. But I looked at some of her artwork. It's very pasteuresque. A lot of horses and country homes and stuff like that. But that's Grandma Moses. And then when Plucky and Hamton become Samurai Slugs, instead of calling themselves painters, one of them's called Sherwin Williams. Sherman Williams or Sherwin Williams, whatever the thing, Sherwin Williams, which of course is a paint shop, and the other one's Earl Scheib, who of course is the car painting company. So cute, clever stuff. But that's the references I kind of saw that stood out for me that I thought were cool. But Nathan, were there any moments in this that you really particularly liked?
I like when they got in their Slugmobile, and then instead of like driving like a car, it just moves like a slug.
Kind of flops around.
Yeah. And I was very confused at why they were scared of salt. But apparently it does affect them.
We don't have slugs. That's one thing I learned from this, actually, and to mention it. As a kid, we never put salt on slugs because Arizona doesn't really have slugs.
No,
we're too dry for insects or mollusks that are essentially snails with no shell.
Yeah, I've seen snails.
Been plenty of snails, but no slugs. At least not in the desert area.
Slugs in the basement, but they haven't been around. I haven't seen any in years.
I didn't know that slugs could actually be in the house. When I saw like Elmira slapping the slugs inside the house, I was just like, I don't get this. This is something that I'm like, do slugs really go in the house? I've seen them like maybe out in the woods or something, but
they can.
Ugh, gross.
Yeah.
Well, then I thought when they're like, oh, we'll do what the slugs did to become samurai slugs. I thought they were gonna like get like radioactive
or something.
Yeah,
no, they just.
I'm glad they
up.
just went for the dressing up. Yeah, like
I did like that part too, though. The whole, you can become a samurai slug. You can wear this costume made of rugged paper mache for only like $30 or
$29.95.
Yeah, exactly. So, which made me think. Now, Kelly, did you watch the Ninja Turtles growing up?
Yes.
Well.
Could you not tell by the fact that I knew that Michelangelo was the one with orange?
That's true.
And Raphael had the scythe.
Well, that's true. That's true. By the way, everyone out there should watch The Toys That Made Us
on Netflix.
Season 3, because the first episode deals with Ninja Turtles, and Rob Paulson's in it, of course. And Rob Paulson does the voice of Grandma Moses in this. He's a radioactive samurai slug, and he's a Ninja Turtle.
Wow.
He's two Ninja Turtles. And he's a samurai slug, so there you go. But it's a really cool episode. The first episode of the third season deals with Ninja Turtles, and I just was watching that, going, "Yep, had that one." And then I thought, going through this episode, hey, I actually have some things still from Ninja Turtles days, and look at this, Nathan. I have my photo album here.
It's a visual podcast.
Podcast. Well, Nathan will describe what he's. Well, I'll describe what he's holding.
Okay.
It's basically in the back of the flyers. I used to get everything I could from Ninja Turtles, and basically I made a scrapbook of all the things that they would have, like in the back of the toys. They would have these little guides, and they have little stupid, horrible jokes. And pictures of the Ninja Turtles. I'll take some pictures of this stuff just to show everybody what it looks like on our show notes over at animaniacast.com, so you could see what I'm talking about. But these are horrible jokes.
Some of them don't make sense to me.
Okay. What? Like what? These are good.
How do you insult a turtle? Tell him his shell smells.
Shell smells.
That's the joke, is that it rhymes?
Yeah, I think that's the joke.
You can just tell him he smells.
Why does Bebop eat so much? He likes to make a pig of himself.
Bebop's
That's
the
right.
pig.
Bebop's the pig. What do you call a foot soldier in jail? A foot locker. Why did Leonardo take the foot soldier to the shoe store? He wanted to give him the boot.
He took him to the Foot Locker store.
Yeah. So, yeah, I have a bunch of these. I don't know why I saved all these, but I'm glad I did, because it's just such an obscure thing.
And they're so terrible.
And, and then I have, like, some of the back of the cards I saved from the action figures. You know, so I have, like, a Usagi Yojimbo, a Metalhead. I have this little thing for coming out of our shells. The $3.99 you can get with any pizza purchase. I apparently clipped it from a thing. That's the other thing, too, with this stunt show that they were showing with the slugs. I was thinking of this Ninja Turtles coming out of our shells cassette, which we had gotten. And I remember listening to this. And, it's pretty... It's not the best music. And then, flipping the page again, I have a flyer from Toys R Us where you can it has the Ninja Turtles video game. It has a Ninja Turtles costume, which we had.
Yeah.
I think it was too big for it, but it cost $11.99, so you could dress up like Leonardo.
Seems like you're just learning to scrapbook, and you're like, what?
It's some real basic
Where's
stuff.
some trash I can put in?
Hey, but you know what? It should have been thrown away, but I'm glad I kept it, because it's just little things like that. Like, it was important to me, young 11-year-old Joey, when I was going all through this stuff. So there we go. Anyway, so I love Ninja Turtles, and it's probably why I remember it so much, is just because it was parodying something that I really liked.
Yeah.
So I liked it too. I mean, my brother was the one that got me into it, and I would play with him with the action figures, but we could never find an April O'Neil action figure ever. And so what I ended up doing was taking some card stock and making like a cardboard April that I drew with markers, and kind of like a paper doll, except I didn't change clothes or anything on her. I just drew her clothes on, because we didn't have an April O'Neil, and I didn't understand then as a little girl how they short stocked female action figures, because quote unquote they didn't sell.
They're less popular. We had an April.
Yeah, we had an April O'Neil.
Yeah. Because we're
you should have come over to Tucson. We had them.
We had all of them.
And just so we know, with me, and I have 3 other brothers, we had all the Ninja Turtles stuff. We had a ton of it. We had the sewer. We had the turtle mobile.
I love the turtle van. That was awesome.
The blimp. We had the blimp. At least one, because the blimp would
like
pop.
It broke. Yeah,
yeah, it popped a couple times. We had the Krang. Giant suit Krang, which I remember brother Clay and I got into a lot of trouble because we decided to sneak out during the summer, because I was like, I think it's at Toys R Us. So I was like, we'll just get on our bikes and go. And I didn't realize this, but it was really far. It was like at least 5 miles away from our house. between 5 and 10 miles away. But we got all the way to Toys R Us, and we put it into our bag, and we started heading back, and then my brother Clay fell off his bike, and then we had to call home to get picked up, and we got in so much trouble. But we still got the toy.
Clay has had the worst luck with bikes.
Yeah, he really is. He's fallen off bikes more than anybody. Well, anyway,
Master Splinter was the best.
He was a cool one.
I know that comes as no surprise for someone who loves Yoda, but he was always so wise, and that's who I always played when we played with the action figures. I'm like, I'm Master Splinter.
Yeah, I really like the original action figures too, because they didn't look like the cartoon series. It always felt like you could play like with the toys and make it a little more like edgier, perhaps, or something like that, because they felt like they were a little bit, I don't know, just rougher around the edges or something. So those toys were really, really awesome. And we all had different roles. I was always Michelangelo.
I was always Raphael.
That's right. And Nick was Donatello, and Clay was Leonardo, and Nathan was Raphael because nobody really liked Raphael.
Last pick.
Yeah, Nathan always got last pick on every. It was Ninja Turtles or Ghostbusters
or Gargoyles.
Oh yeah, I didn't play Gargoyles.
Play it at all, so
yeah. So I didn't care about that.
I think I was 2 characters on Gargoyles. I was the really old guy and the dog.
I don't remember.
I can't remember
the life of being brothers. Anyway, there you go. That's our. So I really liked Radioactive Samurai Slugs. And is there anything else in this segment that stood up for you, Kelly, that you liked?
No, I think everything's been mentioned.
All right. Well, let's get to the last one right here, and this is called Venison. Anyone? And Venison Anyone was directed once again by Art Vitello, and it was written by Charles M. Howell IV. And he was just on our show recently. You could go listen to that episode. We talked all about him working with Gordon Bresick on Animaniacs and even Tiny Toons, like this episode. Yeah,
this segment. I don't think we talked about.
We didn't talk about this episode. Well, this segment it's pretty straightforward. It's one of the things they talk about being cool, and Montana Max says the best way to be cool is with a shotgun, which is weird, but he chases Buster around the studio with a shotgun, and at one point even Buster has the shotgun again as they're whirling around the chair. It goes into this cartoon where Montana Max is going to go hunting for deer, and so he's doing the whole Elmer Fudd thing. In fact, this is essentially just a Bugs Bunny cartoon, but with the deer and Montana Max instead of Elmer Fudd or anything like that, which is kind of a weird mix, because you look at Elmira Duff is supposed to be Elmer Fudd. You see the Duff and the Fudd.
Montana Max supposed to be Yosemite Sam.
Yosemite Sam.
But what's the connection between the names in that?
Just one? Yosemite is a place in Yosemite, Montana.
Okay.
You see Yosemite and So there's the connection. So kind of he's kind of. And he kind of acts a little bit more like Yosemite Sam, voice-wise and everything, I think, than Elmer. So anyway, he's chasing him around, and they do a lot of... it's kind of cool, because Montana Max moves out with his limo to the middle of the woods, and it pops up like a pop tent, but instead of a tent, it's his entire mansion pops out. And Montana Max goes out with his rifle. A bunch of deer run away, except for this little deer, kind of looks like Bambi, except his name is Vinny.
Hey, Daniel Boob. What's with the gun?
I'm gonna shoot me a deer.
You think you'll find any? They're pretty clever.
Yeah, but I'm smarter and I've got sharp eyes.
The other woodland creatures are too gentle to bother this guy. Good thing for them I'm around.
So he proceeds to say, oh, he's over here, and, misleading Montana the entire way. At one point, he, in fact, takes Montana Max's gun, puts it into a kiln, and melts it down to nothing, or to a little thing, and squishes Montana Max with it. Montana Max tries to catch him with a rope.
Like a lasso
trap, yeah. And Vinny has this funny line about, ooh, a steak, and he pulls the steak holding the rope.
A nice, juicy steak. Normally, I'm a vegetarian, but if you insist, I'll cheat just this once.
Give me that back! Perhaps I should quickly move.
And, of course, Montana Max goes back and forth and goes out into outer space and flies away. Lands back down onto what should be some mattresses, but go figure, there's an anvil in there. Oh, it all concludes with the Vinny about to get caught, but he's in front of this cave, and there's a sign on the cave, and Montana, from what Montana can see, it says Deer Cave.
Yeah,
and not
like words are being covered up.
Words are being covered, but apparently
you can clearly see
Montana Max has not very good eyesight at all.
It says Deer Cave, though. You can clearly see those words.
You definitely see Deer Cave, because of course we all know deer love to sleep in caves. So Montana Max runs in there, and wouldn't you know it, it's actually bears are in there because Vinny was blocking very important words. It says deer keep out. Bear cave,
right? Because you know how people put up signs
for the deer
to warn deer that there's a bear cave.
Yeah, watch out. And of course, that's the end right there. Well, anyway, by the way, Vinny did this kind of really upset me watching this because I'm like, Vinny is not doing a good job of blocking the sign. You could totally it gave away the joke. So like
when it wasn't a good joke necessarily. Like I was hoping for like a better pun. I was like, really? Like, does it really say deer keep out bear cave?
I think that's the joke in itself. It's that it's such a ridiculous sign. Yeah. Like, why would you put up a sign for deer to keep out?
I thought I'm guessing they were like, oh, we'll have it say deer cave, and we'll like have it. We'll think of a good pun, and then like, oh, whatever, just put deer. I think they even like thought that was funny.
Well,
to like. Just give up.
Well, anyway, it's essentially, if you've seen Bugs Bunny cartoons, you've seen, you see this. This is kind of like I wouldn't call it a ripoff. It's an homage.
Yeah,
an homage to a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
To a ripping off of a cartoon.
But I wish I could remember the exact Bugs Bunny one. But he does do the exact same things.
There's more than one.
Look, Doc, underneath the rabbit's under here. The rabbit's under here. And all that. I was like, I remember seeing Bugs Bunny doing this stuff. So it was cute, but that's pretty much it. Is there anything, Nathan, that you saw in this that you really liked? You thought was cool?
I like guns. No, I don't know.
It does have a lesson. Don't play with guns, which I thought was nice. Which did make me think that we should definitely review a banned episode of Tiny Toons where it was supposed to be the lesson of don't drink and drive.
Oh,
but the Tiny Toons, like Buster, I think Buster and Plucky, maybe Hamton, actually do drink beer and then they go driving and they get into an accident and they die or something.
Dark, let's watch that.
We should at some point. So, this one does the idea of having a gun, a rifle.
For the kids too,
in a kid's cartoon is definitely weird. It never gets fired.
Montana Max is a kid. Like, how old is he supposed to be?
Yeah, but I knew kids like Montana Max growing up that loved hunting and everything. So as me, I wasn't a big deal. It's just the fact that there's two kid characters chasing each other around with a rifle. Today you would never see that,
right? And I mean, it's hunting basically a human. The Bambi is like anthropomorphic, so
exactly. yeah.
It gets like, I don't know, but no, it was fine. Like, there's some funny little quips, I guess.
Okay, Kelly, what about you?
I thought it was kind of funny when he took he was like, oh, it's a nice juicy steak, and I kept looking at the ground like, where's the steak? And then I realized it's steak, S-T-A-K-E.
Yeah.
And, I felt kind of dumb, but
I'm right with you.
No,
I did the same thing. I was like, where's the steak?
I don't eat meat, but I'm like, oh man, like there's meat somewhere in this shop.
I know. It's like I looked right in the middle of that circle. It's like I don't see any steak. So I'm sure, especially as kids, like
even afterwards, I'm sure they didn't
I don't get it
because not everyone knows it's called a steak. I'm assuming.
Yeah. Peg.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's our episode right there. Those are our 3 segments of Mr. Popular. And let's go ahead and get to Mr. Popular's Rules of Cool or whatever it's called, the whole thing. There's another one called Mr. Popular, I think. Sorry. Let's go ahead and get to our water tower rating. Well, out of 5 water towers, how many would you give this particular episode? Nathan, let's start with you.
Ooh, Joey, I'm going to have to say 3.5.
Why?
I don't know. Why not? No, I like the Samurai Slugs. I wasn't a huge fan of the Bambi one. And I guess, you need the rules of cool for an overarching story. So
it tied together pretty well.
Yeah, tied it well. I mean, it seemed like the Bambi one was kind of thrown in. They just have that little intro. Yeah. But it could have been in any episode.
That's kind of true, yeah.
Yeah. So,
so could the Samurai Slugs, really,
Samurai
too.
Slugs as well.
The only one that it was Hamton was like that was Mr. Popular, so it was cool. But whatever. So they still did a good job of tying it together.
Yeah, they did a good job of finding little intros to each one. So I'll give that to the first one. 3.5. It was good. Mostly the Samurai Slugs, though.
Okay. Kelly, what about you?
I also am going to go with 3.5, basically for the same reasons as Nathan. I don't even remember the other 2 segments from when I watched the episode originally, but I do remember the Samurai Slugs, and like I said, I remembered the song. So I didn't find them particularly strong, but Samurai Slugs was enough to give it a little bit of a higher rating, and it was a lot of fun.
I will give it 3.5 as well. So we're in triple agreement. Woo!
Woo!
The only thing that made me a little confused with the whole Samurai Slugs thing is, wait, so the Iodizer is real?
And he's very stupid that he doesn't realize, like, a show is... Like, there's no way that there would have been, even if these weren't...
Yeah, so the whole concept of the real Iodizer being there and being confused, that is a little confusing if you stop and think about it.
And, like, apparently they became actual slugs because they were actually afraid of salt. That's what I was confused about, like, why they were running away from the Iodizer. And, like, if he's just putting salt on you, like, that's fine. Like,
yeah,
salt is not going to hurt a human or a duck or a pig.
Plucky just really gets into role playing. So when he gets hit by salt, he will melt.
Yeah, that scene at the very end. I like that they showed that.
Well, anyway, I like the look of it, and I really like the Samurai Slugs one.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
definitely very cute and funny.
Yeah, 3.5 for me. So hooray! Well, let's go ahead and get to our contact information. Oh, actually, before we do, let's read a review. We have a new review on Apple Podcasts. Woo! And
you need a review song.
Okay, Nathan, hit us with the Apple Podcast review song.
This is the Apple Podcast review song. It goes like this, and then I sing a song, and then you go with grits.
Go with grits.
All right.
I don't know. Nothing else rhymes with this, so...
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get to our review. So we just got a recent review in, and this came from Ald0814. And his review, or her review, or whoever their review, I should say, says, yes, always. Or yes. Anyway. It all started with the news of the reboot, and a friend shared, I think he meant to put just one shared or two shared, but he shared a photo.
Again and again.
Again and again. He shared it so many times. A friend shared a photo of the original voice actors, but in the corner was the logo. Animaniacs? What's that? It's awesome. I love it, and thank you for this. I loved the show in its original run, and I'm loving it more as an adult. I can't wait until the Freakazoid discussions. Keep up the great work. Peace sign with 2 fingers. And yes, thank you very much, Ald0814. And happy birthday, I'm assuming, on August 14th.
Probably.
We're going to assume. 5-star review right there. So thank you so much for that 5-star review. And if you folks out there want to do an Apple Podcast review, it's pretty easy to rate, I think, podcasts once you have the app, but it's a little more tricky doing a review. But the main thing you need to do is have an iPhone and then, leave the review in there.
Dedication to want to do it, I guess.
Exactly. It's there. You can do it. And if you do it and it's nice and positive, heck, we'll read it on the show.
Eventually.
One of these days. Well, thank you again for that. And let's go ahead and get to our contact information. So, Nathan, where can people reach you online?
Oh, Joey, I'm on Twitter. DjangoFT, that's me.
And Kelly, what about you?
I'm also on Twitter, Yoda Princess, YODAPRNCSS, or you can email me, Kelly, at BigShinyRobot.com.
Okay, and as for the Animaniacast, we're on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. You can subscribe to us on your favorite podcast player. And of course, you can also subscribe to the Retro Zap podcast feed. We are a proud member of the RetroZap.com community. And if you subscribe to that feed, you can not only hear our podcast, but all the other fantastic Retro Zap podcasts too. You can get everything pop culture related that you could possibly want to hear, especially Star Wars. There's a little thing called The Mandalorian that's out right now. It has a little guy in it. That weird.
So cute.
It's so cute. It's some weird cuteness going on. But he's a cute weirdness. I'm sorry. Cute weirdness. That's right.
Yeah.
Anyway. So of course, it's a great place to go. You can, if you want to talk about all that too, you can go to Discord. Discord.animaniacast.com. We'll give you the welcome link there, and you can talk to us and all the other RetroZap folks about anything pop culture related that you could possibly want to. Some great positive discussions there, and it's a great place to go to, especially to escape the crazy negativity that is all around the internet.
Yeah,
so
it's just a positive place. It's so positive.
I'm positive that it's positive. Well, with that, let's go ahead and wrap it up. So for Nathan and Kelly, this is Joey saying, good night, everybody.
Good night, Joey.
Good night, everybody.
And everyone else.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, Freakazoid, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animaniacast unless otherwise indicated.
Someone's in trouble! Ready to rumble, Sherwin Williams?
Bunga Kawa, Earl Shine.